What's up, everyone? It's me, Adam Prime, and we are back again for another This Week in Toku. I don't know if I want to call it exciting or not. It's an interesting night. Yeah, I'm about to say. We'll get to that in a second. But with me, as always, is my fiance and co-host.
I'm not lovely anymore.
You are always lovely. Excuse me. You didn't give my brain 3 seconds. I've run out of adjectives. You're web of. That's what you are. You are web of. Nice.
Web of?
Oh shit, that joke wasn't with you. Fuck. That's an inside joke with something else. With somebody else. It's listing off like Spider-Man titles where it's like, oh, you're just like, oh shoot, this was amazing. Oh dude, no, it was spectacular. Oh dude, this is so like there was one that was literally just like eventually like we went to like Ultimate and like back and forth for a little bit, and then it just went to, oh man, this is so web of.
Hi, I'm Stormy.
And his amazing friends. Diddy!
Joke's on you. I don't have any friends.
Whoa. Don't know. Wow.
I'm kidding.
But
I'm just trying to be fun. You can go on a whole ass rant about Spider-Man, but I can't make one joke.
I'm not saying you.
See how it is.
I'm not saying you can't, but I had to explain it to you because you were looking at me like I had fucking 18 heads.
Because you kept going.
It's web of.
I'm very web of.
You're very web of.
Watch me flip.
Oh man.
Watch me nay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Future me, edit that out, but not really.
How dare you? How dare you, future you?
It's not. I'm not gonna edit it out. I'm not editing it out though. So yeah, this week Decker ended, so it gets to go last this week.
Yeah. That's why we're sad, because
it's like, yeah, Decker ended. Again, we're still in somewhat what I'm gonna call the hiatus period. So again, I'm still behind. So you'll hear this when you will. I'm jumbled on my words. Either way, we're not talking about news because by the time this comes out, it's not going to be relevant. So we're at least still talking about the episodes.
Yeah.
So we are doing Donbrothers first. Donbrothers goes first, even though I think it still has my brain splattered on the ground.
Yeah, this was very like, what's happening? Like,
all right, where do we want to start?
God,
should we do the Naoto stuff first?
You know what? I think we should start off with them welcoming anyway, brother.
Oh, yes.
Everyone finally knows who everyone is. Oh my god, it took how long until the
44 episodes, give or take.
It cut to us at the very beginning of the show being like, oh god, they're going to do this the whole show, aren't they?
And the answer was yes.
Yep.
And pretty much, even though they're all supposed to be celebrating, he's reading the manga. Future Haruka's manga.
Yeah, and we're very reminded of her just being like, oh, all the secrets are in my manga or whatever.
Yeah, and exactly. And Jiro's like, hey, don't forget, we have to go to my village. Blah, 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 village. And like, Inoue brother Tsubasa was just like, what village?
I would like to go.
And they're like, why? And he just like is totally convincing and not like suspicious at all, saying, because I'm part of the team now.
Yeah, and the things that we see in the manga are like, oh, it's basically like the same scenario, like, oh, there are these demons that take on like
people's
appearances or whatever, and it's like, oh, the secret forest that they live in
is in the fridge.
Is in like the fridge of a police station in the village, in like I think it was like Kaka village, or
no,
one is Kaka and one is Gaga. I will say that I forget which one is which. I think it was Gaga in the.
It's in the manga. But either way, so in pretty much the Jiro's town, but beforehand, I guess then
before they leave,
before they leave, but
Taro gets to talk to the swan.
Before that,
Crane?
Yes, the crane.
Yeah.
The crane, but before we get to him talking to the crane after he started walking home, can we just get all of the Kaji brother stuff out of the way right now, because it really doesn't matter.
He really was like.
He just relapses again.
God damn it, Kaji brother.
He becomes another monster. He's the guy.
Here's the thing, like during like his like welcoming party, he like storms in. He's like,
I'll never welcome you,
and he's just like, oh thank God she's alive, but like, dude, she's a monster. And Tara's like, yeah, dude, she's a monster. And he's like, I hate all of you.
And then has the
away.
doofiest run ever and starts putting, like, lost posters.
Yeah, all these, like, missing person posters, and it's like the comedic, like, oh, there's like 1 billion of them in a small area.
Exactly, and then he turns into a
monster again.
Yeah. By the way, no Danoni Taijin fight. Like, again, we're just getting all of this out of the way.
Yeah,
and then we'll put a pin in it. But
it's just Sour Brother and Haruka because they're the only ones that can fight at the moment.
Yeah, because everyone else is either A, a monster, or B, in the village.
Yeah, and they're just like, shit, we can't make the big robot. What do we do?
And we'll come back. Yeah, we'll come back to how this happens, but long story short, they're selling us a new toy. And it's King Oger. Like, that is legitimately the mecha's name, is King Oger.
Yeah.
I think.
That sounds is there another show that's called something similar? Because it sounds really familiar.
There's King Ranger.
No.
There's probably... you're probably thinking of Jew Oger.
Jew Oger, that's what I was thinking of.
There's a lot of Ogers, though.
Yeah, and they're bug-themed.
Yeah, the bug mecha, and it has Danoni Taijin's head.
Cool.
It does look rad.
It looks really cool.
And that was a cool fight, and he gets defeated, but then he's reverted to small. Put a pin in that. We will come back to that at the end.
Mm-hmm. There's, like, a brief... I also want to say, like, let's just get the Naoto thing out of the way, because they had, like, one elevator scene, and, like, that was kind of it.
Well, they had one elevator scene, and then...
Oh, yeah, they all have, like, their, like, 3 individual things. So, we see the other Naoto, right?
Oh, the new ones?
Yeah, the new Naoto are in town, and...
Not yet. First we get the elevator scene, where they're like,
oh, sure
yes, the elevator scene happens first.
Okay.
Because they're like, what are we gonna do? Because they're like, well, we can't go back.
And Sononi is just like, let's join the Donbrothers. And then we get the scene that we got excited about in the preview.
Yeah, they didn't team up yet.
They psyched us out. It was like her fantasizing.
All of them fantasizing.
She looked at Inoue Brother up and down, by the way.
Yeah, which, by the way, they were like, oh, they'll never forgive us for all what we've done. And then like, Sonozo was like, but what if we found some Post-it notes?
The ring of forgiveness.
Yeah, there's a ring of forgiveness.
The ring of sticky notes because it looked like it had just like cut up a bunch of sticky notes and like filmed it.
And it is said to be in the Juto forest, and they're like, well, we're not going to be able to find that. They kind of are just like, I guess that's not happening. So that's pretty much their story, and then we get the 2 new Naoto.
I thought there was 3.
Well, Sonoshi already showed up. He was the red one.
That's true. So yeah, he's back.
He's back. But he doesn't come in until later, until we see the first 2 new ones, which we have a gray one.
They like barely show up. He has a mace. The gray one has a mace.
Yeah, and then you have...
And him in his human form looks a lot like Date.
O's.
Like,
I can see it to a point, but
he
doesn't have the abs.
I thought it was him for a second, because apparently Date's actor is fucking immortal and hasn't aged in like 10 years. Because he looked the same in the O's reunion. That made me cry. And then there was this like purple. I think she's purple, right?
Yeah.
This purple lady. And yeah. Again, like they just kind of get introduced. I imagine it'll be a bigger thing next episode.
It totally will be, but they do a big thing because obviously at the end, it's like all of the Naoto fighting, and Haruka and Sarahara getting caught up in the fighting.
Yeah, because he's just like, I'm gonna destroy you.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. And, yeah, pretty much. They were like, well, let's, they're all starting to kill each other, and then they kill Kaji Brother. Kinda. He got cubed.
Yeah, he got put in the cube.
Yeah, so Kaji Brother got cubed. Kinda deserves it, cause he's just in denial.
Yeah, he's, like, hard into, like, denial. It's honestly kind of sad at this point.
The only thing that's more in denial is in Egypt.
Huh?
The Nile.
Oh.
I thought you would have... I'm surprised you didn't realize my stupid joke before, and I had to explain it.
I was expecting it for some reason. It's like up dog.
What is up dog?
What is up dog?
But,
I've never ever got that to work. But,
yeah, no. But yeah, so the Naoto just kind of kill him, and they're just like, oh, shit. But let's get back to Jiro's village. This is everything. This is everything.
Oh. So...
First of all, the village is empty.
Yeah.
like Tsubasa and Taro are like, we've not seen a single person at all.
We catch a glimpse of a bestial, like a cat.
Yeah, it's like, but they were like sneaking. They were like, oh my god.
Get him to come out of the bushes.
But yeah, trying to get him to come out of the bushes, and like Jiro's like, come on, we ought to keep moving.
Well, no, they don't try to get them out of the bushes. I was making a joke.
I know, but like,
it's just hiding, and Taro like almost sees it.
Well, yeah, no, I know, but he was like staring at him, like, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
What are this?
So yeah, and they go into like Jiro's house. It's like the police station.
You should, yeah, like where his
and he's like,
adoptive dad
I told
lived.
him, I told my dad you guys were coming over, and he's not here. I'm gonna go get him or whatever.
And then he never comes back.
He leaves and just doesn't fucking come back. And then like there's like this whole scene with like them opening up the fridge and the fucking.
Because they know, because they reveal in the manga that like they go back to it being in the fridge, and they're just like, well, this has to be it.
And it's just like a segment of Taro just trying to shove Inoue brother in there, both as a human and as a dog.
Yeah, it's like he tried his best to shove that dog in.
And I did notice that like Taro and Tsubasa were like really butting heads a lot. I just thought it was just
he didn't like orders.
Yeah, and Taro is nothing but a living orders giver, I guess.
Exactly. So he's just trying to think of ways, which I guess he's pretty much like insinuating, just being like, "Can you try to do this?"
Or could you?
Yeah, it's like, could you? Like suggesting it.
Which is actually kind of smart if you think about it.
And
so
Jiro's dad, so Jiro's dad walks in. So,
and we see, he's like, oh, and as he's like feeding them, it's the stew Rumi gave.
Yeah.
Jiro.
Yeah, by the way, super not real.
Yeah, who is not real. And they're like, oh my god, it's delicious.
They're like, yeah, delicious. They're like, this isn't human. They're like, he's something else. And then like he looks around
Taro and, like, sees the origami.
Yeah, and Taro's immediately just like,
Are you?
Yeah. Are you a Juto? I see what you're doing here.
And he's like,
yeah.
I'm also a Don Clan
No, he's
member.
just like, are you a Don Clan member? He's like, yeah, me too.
So there's that. He's a Don Clan member that actually turned into one.
So he could be unkillable or immortal, quote unquote. Because there is a catch. Yeah. More unkillable.
Yeah, who willingly, as far as I think.
Well, yeah, it's like he did it willingly.
He's just like, oh, Jiro was my successor.
He's like, yeah.
By the way,
he's
they're
like,
giving him a massage this whole time.
Yeah, and he was like, oh, I'm the guardian of the forest.
The gate.
Yeah, he's like,
I don't let bestials out, and I don't let humans in, essentially.
Which, by the way, he does a terrible job at. But to be fair, we find out he's dying.
But yeah, he's like, I want Jiro to be my successor because I'm dying soon. Because his body in the forest is just getting old and dying.
They're like, yeah, and like that's what he states. He's like, hey, when you're in the forest, it's like your body still ages, and when your body dies, your bestial dies.
Yeah, but it seems a lot like that's like just his brain almost transplanted into the bestial.
I think that's him as a Don. I think that's like the rule of thumb, like especially if we're going off the preview. Like, bestials, if you are a Don Clan member, like, it doesn't make another personality.
Is that... do you think that's what they're insinuating?
Yeah, well, yeah, because look at, like, Tarasaki, I want to say he was, the penguin. He's a penguin, by the way.
He is the penguin. I half guessed that. I thought it would be Rumi. I didn't think about his dad.
Well, yeah, I think we both mentioned we're like, maybe his dad, because we didn't see him, but we saw a picture.
Yeah, it was kind of like the same idea.
Well, yeah. By the way, we still don't know what the fuck Jiro is.
Yeah,
Give a second.
Yeah. And then, Tsubasa just kind of gets mad about getting ordered and rubbing this fucking guy's feet.
Yeah.
So he runs off, and Taro and him, like, actually have, like, a little bit of a fight. And like.
Yeah, and he's just like, give me Murasame.
He's like, no.
Yeah, and then they start fighting, and then they overhear Jiro.
I hate you! Yeah, they overhear Jiro, and they go, and he's just having lunch by himself.
He thinks all his friends are there, but they're not none of them are real.
None of them are real. It's literally just the two of them in this village.
Yeah, it's literally...
They're like, close your eyes, I want to give you something tasty. He's like, okay.
And it's a penguin origami.
Yeah, it's like he was trying to turn Jiro into a penguin, essentially.
So
And
yeah,
Taro actually does like run in and
you
stop it and
can
grab
stop
it.
it,
So
and
it's just like fucking floating there. Like,
exactly. So yeah, which I guess the penguin might have telekinesis or something, and
I don't know.
like
We're just gonna
we're
have
not
to wait.
we're not fully sure. But yeah,
And
Taro.
yeah, and like by the way, I think Jiro is like in some sort of fucking hypnosis at this point because he doesn't react to any of this. He's just kind of sitting there.
He still thinks like Rumi and everybody's talking to her. Which, by the way, I like how they were like, he's like, oh, I forgot about Taro and all of them. He's like, they were like,
those guys.
yeah, like no outsiders. Come on.
He's like, okay, and then like the dad walks in. He's like, are you trying to ruin my plans? And Taro is just like, as a Dawn Clan member and like creators of the Bestials, I want to take responsibility or something like that.
Well, yeah, exactly.
And he fucking eats it.
He just
eats it.
He just eats it and just pretty much like almost starts like gagging and everything. And
paper cut.
And then he gets sucked into the forest, much like how Natsumi did.
At the same time, he got summoned.
To go
with the others fighting.
And that's what caused King Oger to show up.
Logic.
Black hole, sunglasses, bug.
And
got it.
I gotta say, like the like thing that Taro was getting sucked into looks exactly like what Natsumi got sucked into, which makes sense if you think about it.
Exactly. And she pretty much, he pretty much gets sucked up into the forest, and like you later just see him in the forest after everything is done, and cats are getting ready to surround him.
Yeah, Taro's just hanging in the forest.
Yeah,
like
he is.
else.
So yeah, it's like, and we see him in the preview that he's at least acting fine. He's still Taro. So it's like, again, maybe with Dawn Clan members, but then that doesn't. Jiro is weird.
It also could be like the fact that it's a penguin. We still don't know what they do yet, technically.
Well, yeah, exactly. Which I think we're gonna find out next episode, because should we just say it now? Well, I guess we actually, since he ate it, he's a penguin too. Like Taro's gonna be a penguin. So yeah, it would be weird if he ate it and they're like, yeah, you're still a cat. I get. The penguin thing though, it's very interesting because it's like, it makes you feel real bad for Jiro.
Yeah, he's got a, like, we do see in the preview, like, he's like very emotional, so he must like
break the illusion for him,
or someone tells him the truth, or he figures it out or something. I'm gonna feel real fucking bad either way.
Well, yeah,
and it makes me wonder, like, everything with like Jiro and Torval,
like what does that mean? Where it's like,
what is everything with those?
I'm imagining that does insinuate that Tarasaki, two-away, was aware of Torval and realized, hey, that personality's not gonna work, and altered his brain somehow. Because again, the scene where we see Torval gain regular Jiro as a personality was when he was with his friends and they were doing a little circle thing. But we now know those characters aren't real.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like,
to the point where even we wonder if like his dad just came and dropped off him like the soup when he was sick.
Like, exactly, where it's like, did he just in penguin form and just cast his illusion to pretty much make sure he didn't die so his successor didn't die, you know what I mean?
Something like that.
Like, it's real.
Also, he even gave like the same thing that Rumi said, with like, oh, it was made fresh with the vegetables they picked from their garden.
I'm realizing, do you think that means like that's what Don Torvald and Don Dragoku's, like, that's what the Ryuko no Geki is meant for, is for the guardian of the Juto forest?
I don't know.
Because we know what the Dawn Brothers suits are. We know those were the special armor for the Dawn Clan royal family. So I'm now realizing we never got to explain what Torvald and, like, where it's like, do they have a reasoning like them? So it's like, I'm now wondering that.
Right, again, we're just gonna have to see.
Yeah, exactly. Overall, a really solid episode, and it's just like,
it's really ramping up because it has like what, 5 episodes after this?
Yes, this is 45. Yeah, it's 45. All right. Geats. Where do we start with Geats?
I feel like this is actually a pretty straightforward plot, and because we're probably gonna talk a lot about Deckard, do you want to like try and get through this one a little bit quicker, or?
Well, I'm about to say, I'm like, I feel like there's a ton to talk about, though.
I mean, yeah, like, there's a couple specific things I can see
Oh,
as
yeah,
to
but
wanting to
okay, wait,
talk
long
about,
story
but
short, we're continuing the sports ball one.
yeah,
Um,
people still think Kawa is the
yeah,
best.
exactly, that's pretty much how it opens up, but he gets to meet a sponsor this episode.
Oh my gosh,
His frog.
his little frog friend.
Yeah, he's like, and like he legitimately straight up tells Kayla, the reason you were getting the boost buckle was because of me.
Can you imagine just how upset he must have gotten? Just like, oh my god, I keep sending it to you. Fucking use it already. Like the first time he's like, you know what? Yeah, he did the right thing. I can see why he did that. I'll send him a second one so now he can have some fun with it. Oh my god, why'd you do that again?
You son of a bitch.
I guess I'll send you another one. And he's just like, stop! I'm running out of money. Like, he's his sponsor, but he's like one of the poorer sponsors. Like, they're still stupid rich, but like compared to the other ones, he only has one yacht. You know what I mean?
He's like, God damn it! I had to sell fucking 3 of my fucking fleets of yachts.
3 fleets
God.
of yachts.
Yeah, like he has like
Imagine what a fleet of yachts would look like.
Yes, I know, but like that's what I'm saying. I feel like if you're a Desire Grand Prix sponsor, you have to be that kind of rich.
Yeah. He's like, oh man.
And pretty much, I'm realizing we haven't seen Neon interact with her dad, who's obviously her sponsor. I'm imagining.
I imagine.
Like I think
There's
even
a
in the
chance he could
scans,
be a dick and not be, but you know.
I guess maybe, but yeah, no, and like he's pretty much like, dude, you need to get your head in the game, man. Like you need to watch out for the disaster. And it's like, cause it's like eat or be eaten. And so he was just like, "Oh, I'm sorry." He's just like the Jamato are just saying things that
They're turning into people.
Yeah, and turning into
Or
people.
they're the people that died or whatever it was.
Yeah, and he's just like, "Oh, whatever." He's like, "You need to fucking figure that out." And he's just like, "Oh, I instinctively protected them because it's like I thought they were people. It was just an instinct, bro." I'll come back to that. Put a pin in that. Um, and then we pretty much continue the sports ball thing. They were going on.
And it looks like they're about to lose, and then Geats pulls like
Badass maneuver mode.
yeah, and like
He's like, I need the last second win. Where he kicks 2 balls.
and then they tie.
Yeah, they tie.
So we actually get a little bit of a breather, you know. So
Yeah,
there's gonna be like a final sudden death round.
Yeah, so it's like first person to get a point wins.
But in the meantime,
Yeah, so everyone's going back. I think that's where the sponsor thing happens. And Geats.
sees Buffa.
Yeah, by the way.
How the fuck did you?
Yeah, how did you get out of the Jamato playroom dimension?
Again,
Where
I
are
still
you?
stand by maybe those are the destroyed play areas, but like you keep thinking it's another dimension. But how did he walk to just Japan from that?
I'm not sure, but Storby, you also have to think we were just revealed interdimensional things are a thing.
Yeah, but like I feel like he would have mentioned that.
I don't think he knows anything right now. He just knows. He's like, I hate everything.
His body's pretty screwed over at the moment.
Yeah, and like we didn't even see him transform this episode, but like
He and Geats talk. Geats brought him some food.
yeah, Geats is like, what happened? I saw you die, and he's like, I did. They're like, oh, he's like, oh, what happened?
It's like that one I Say joke where it's like, did you die? Sadly, yes, but I lived. You know what I mean?
And he's pretty much just telling everyone to fuck off, and he's like, I'm doing this my own way. He's just like, oh,
Fuck
so you finally joined the Jamato? He's like, fuck no.
Fuck you.
He's
fuck
like,
them. I'm going to the
well, he even,
drum.
yeah, exactly. He said, I'm alive. He's like, nobody else is left, confirming they were just mulch.
By the way, a thought that occurred to me, and I told you already
Mm-hmm.
while we were watching that. I can't believe I didn't realize it sooner, but like we had basically just assumed, like in the very beginning of like this thing when we were just learning about the death game and you know its rules and everything, it's like, oh, you can choose to become a writer, but the consequence of that is like if you die instead of getting retired, you just stay dead. You don't get to like get revived and go back to your normal life like how they can for like civilians or if you get retired.
Which Nutch Sparrow tried to trick people into thinking that's how it worked.
And it's occurring to me now, knowing things that we know, of just, oh my god, that's on purpose. Like that's not like, oh, a consequence of the game or like, oh, a thing in their system. It's just like, oh, it's just like a consequence of blah blah blah. It's like, no, like they purposefully are not reviving them because they're using them for fucking mulch and seeds.
And like, yeah, and making their monsters.
To make more monsters so they can keep playing. That's really fucked up.
Yeah, and it's like we find out like they're not fully like the one person, so it's not like, oh, like a Jamato grows and it's that one person, because we even get shown like their copies, because they re-show that scene that we saw when Shiroi became his farmer and the other two, and we were like, oh, who were the other two?
It was still him.
Yeah, it was just two more Shirois. Like, Buffa revealed that right here. So it's like kind of confirming to us, like, we don't quite sure. So like the Jamato are almost their own thing, but like it's so weird because like, again, everyone's thrown off that Buff is the only survivor. Like, you know what I mean? It's like and that's pretty much where he's at. He's like, because even Geats kind of cutely said like, hey, he's like, let's stick your thing ID core back together.
With sticky rice, he said.
Yeah, exactly. And he's just like, fuck that. Because, like, Buffa's just like, I hate that they just dangled things in front of it like a carrot on a stick. I'm gonna fucking kill you. And I'm gonna fucking kill them. I'm gonna kill everybody. Except for, like, humans. Anyone connected to the stupid game can fuck themselves.
And then just, like, runs off.
And then falls over.
Yeah, like, his body, like, really starts to get
let's just continue with this stuff.
Do you want to just, like, finish that story up so we don't have to bounce back to it?
Yeah.
But later, we see Lord Reginald and Lady...
Yeah.
And Curious George Yellow Lady.
The woman in the yellow dress.
I'm gonna call her Curious George.
I want to say his name is like Nira. Yes, exactly. It is funny. So Lord Reginald's like, he can't be here. We need to send him back. Send him back where? And she.
Death, obviously.
He's like, if people see that he's revived, that would take away the realism of the Grand Prix, and I can't have that.
Realism.
Which I had questioned when we saw that and heard that. I was like, is Lord Reginald such a rich person that he had his assistant drag the body?
Carry him. And then when we went back and rewatched a little bit of it,
you see her drop the body back in like the Juto dimension, and they're like, oh, he's gonna be reborn as a Jamato. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where that ends.
But like he like was totally faking the whole time, and he was like listening.
Yeah, he's just like, fuck that.
Interesting. But yeah.
That's Buffa's story. He got out of the he got out of the Jamato world somehow.
I remember what I was gonna say. I remember the whole like, oh, that breaks the realism of the game. Like, I wonder if that leans more towards like this could be a simulation or a computer matrix kind of thing.
Yeah. Like, it makes me wonder what the hell
why would you say it defeats the realism of the game, or it contradicts it, or whatever the fuck he said? Like,
well, yeah, exactly. Where it's like, meanwhile, it's again, I don't think anyone was expecting Buffa to become a literal zombie.
Yeah.
Like, I guess he technically is. But to be fair, he did it to himself by just using that buckle all the time. Which, I guess he did get a power boost from it, so I guess you get those gains. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, no, and that's pretty much Buffa's story. And, like, the rest of it is pretty much, like, Keiwa trying to prove himself innocent, which he does. And you have, like,
back to the games and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Just go, like, and to finish up the game stuff. And in these scenes, we also see Lopo talking to Neon, being like, or it's like, why do you think Keiwa isn't the disaster? And
No, she opened up with like, I don't think he is, and she's like, oh, why?
Oh yeah. Oh okay. Okay, that's how it opens up. It's like, why? It's like, oh, he's good at heart, and then verbatim almost says exactly what he said earlier.
You can tell that they know each other really well, because she basically says exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he has a good heart, and if he thought that they were people, he would probably instinctually just try to protect them.
Yeah, and it's just like, where it's like, what are you guys doing off hours? I don't trust you.
Hanging out.
Are they? Have we saw? Well, I'm about to say, I guess not recently. Either way, but yeah, no, there was that scene, and pretty much, I'm realizing Nudge Sparrow just kind of disappears, fucking rat tail, eventually. Like, yeah, we go into the sudden death. By the way, I like how this had like the feeling at the end of Space Jam, where like the monsters just realize they're like, oh yeah,
were
monsters, and then shoves the ball into the cannon hand, and like that's how they got so far ahead, was because like they had the ball, like they realized they could use their cannon arms instead of those.
Before we go into the sudden death round, we need to talk about the little midnight snack.
Oh, this was one of the funniest parts in the intergrift.
Yeah,
after Buffa's conversation with Geats.
Geats goes back, obviously, and Keiwa is just kind of like laying there on the couch.
Feeling restless.
He's just like, oh, did I wake you up? And he's just like, no, I can't sleep. He's like, want a midnight snack? He's like, sure. And he just cooks him up a full-ass fucking steak meal with, like...
Yeah, he's like, isn't this much?
Like, various vegetables and, like... There's, like, a sliced baguette with, like, a little tiny thing of, like, butter for each of them. I'm like... Bitch, like, when I get a midnight snack, if I have a baguette, I'm just deep-throating that baguette, you know? I'm not slicing it up, making some meat and, like, vegetables on the side. No, I'm eating the baguette raw. Nothing else. I'm just shoving the bread in my mouth.
But, yeah, no. And then he's like, yeah, speaking of cows, I saw Buffa.
He, like, nearly chokes, like...
Which, I'm not gonna lie, I like how he didn't even care or respond to what he was saying. He's like, I'm saying my joke. I don't even care.
He's like, I'm waiting to tell that joke for a while.
He's like, as soon as I saw him, which, by the way, I love that he gave Buffa what was called, like, cow food.
I think that might just be a thing in Japan. Like, instead of saying, like, oh, it's beef, they say, oh, it's cow. So
yeah.
It's like, oh, it's cow-flavored food. Like, not like you would feed it to cows. I feel like that would cause some sort of disease in them.
Disease.
You know, cannibalism and all that.
But yeah, no. That was pretty much Geats. Well,
during this conversation, you know, he tells Tycoon pretty much everything.
Yeah, he's like, hey, from what Buffa's saying, motherfuckers are dead.
Yeah, and then he's like, okay, so you believe me, and he's like, so you're not the one that voted for me. It turns out Geats is the one that voted for him.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
I bet you he was making sure he was loud enough for everyone to hear when he said, "But prove to me so I can trust you."
Yeah, make it so I can trust you again.
Yeah.
And yeah, in the round that we're talking about, Geats actually does something very, very smart, and he actually is able to like beat down some of the Jamato enough to like show the fact that they're all the one guy.
Yeah, for Tycoon to see it.
Look, they are copies. They're not the actual people.
They're gone.
Like they are. I told you, the people that are already dead are dead and not coming back. These are copies.
But the Desire Grand Prix can reverse any tragedy. He said, supposedly.
And so that gives the Tycoon basically the confidence to be like, okay, so I can beat their asses. Awesome.
Yeah.
And he also calls out Sparrow, just being like, you lied just so that we would vote for him, huh?
Yeah, and he was pretty much like, oh, I won't take such slander. You can imagine what's going to happen to him later. But, like, yeah, and like, Kaiwa has this epic fight.
Yeah, they give him the ninja buckle.
Well, yeah, Lopo throws it to him.
They, like, pretty confidently trust him now, I
guess.
guess.
She's like, I guess if you trust him...
And again, Geats says something pretty good of just... like to Sparrow, just being like, it's because like you tried to sow distrust while he was trying to gain trust. Like it leaves a completely different impression.
Exactly, and it was pretty interesting, and everything, and like you just see him fully determined, going fully out. I don't know where his command buckle went. That disappeared somewhere. I don't know what happened.
Maybe he has it in his back pocket for later.
But yeah, like he just pretty much goes in to sink it in the hole. Is literally getting like lasered, and he's just like, no.
Oh, yeah, and like
his visor cracks, and he finally whips it in and wins the game. He saves the children. Which, by the way, the parents were just waiting outside. Which, how terrified would you be if that was your kid behind a barrier?
I'd be having a heart attack the whole time.
But like, yeah, and yeah, that's pretty much Geats, and they vote off Nudge Sparrow.
Yeah. But we also learn in this episode, he was not the Diastar.
Wait, oh, you're right.
Yeah.
But I don't...
Keiwa learns it from the frog statue, and...
Well, no, he said the frog statue said it may not have been him.
No, he said it wasn't him.
No, it's Geats' sponsor who straight up says it.
Yeah, and Geats says, I know.
Which...
So I still feel like
Unless we're both wrong.
I still feel like I can stand by my theory. Both of my theories, like, remember how I said it's just like I want it to be Sparrow, but I feel like that'd be too obvious and easy.
Well, yeah.
I was going off of either Keiwa is correct and because of his stupid ass luck, and it's Lopo, but I still strongly believe that it's going to be Geats.
I think it's going to be Lopo.
Because basically in the little interview section, the Sparrow said exactly the reason I said that he would do that, which was like, it's to thin out the herd, essentially. And
well, yeah.
In the rules, we see that it's like, once it comes down to 2 players, if one of them is the Dia Star and they haven't been voted off, they get the win. So, again, I'm still going to stand by my guess that it's going to come down to, like, probably Tycoon and Geats. I keep almost saying Gates. And it's going to get down to him, and maybe he should have one because, like, his approval ratings did go up a lot.
Yeah.
And he's now, like, either in the lead or, like, a little behind in
Geats
second.
is at 45, I want to say.
Yeah, he's at, like, 36 or something, if I remember correctly.
He was at, like, 30.
Yeah, and I feel like Tycoon's going to win in that regard, but because Geats is the Gaia Star, he's going to pull a Geats and be like, hey, it turns out it was me, bitch. And then he's going to swoop the win, because of course he is.
I don't know. It's like, I can't tell, and I think that's a good part, you know?
I guess we'll see, but...
Or yeah, it's like, meanwhile, then it would also be funny if they subverted our expectation by actually making it the first person. They're like, God damn it, you idiot, you weren't supposed to show yourself that early!
It was Keiwa all along.
No, I was more meaning it was Sparrow, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and it's just like the Game Master's just pissed. But overall, I think it was a great episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I really enjoyed it. I liked the Buffa stuff. We're getting more next week. I can't wait.
Alright. Let's talk about Decker.
Decker's last episode. This is our first show ending on this week.
Yeah, because, like, I believe, like, the other shows we started...
Donbrothers started.
We started Donbrothers, like, from the beginning, but it hasn't ended yet, obviously. Decker is the first one to, like, start and finish on this podcast.
So, yeah. And let's just start by talking about the episode. So, we pick up right where... like, pretty
Basically
much...
right where we left off.
Yeah, it's like everything's kind of shit. Like, we're all in the infirmary. They're all like, what do we do? And they're just kind of trying to recoup and figure it out. And... do we just want to get the big, like, thing out of the way? Because we pretty much... we don't really find out what happens to the captain, but she's on... vice captain, but she's on crutches.
She has crutches, and her legs are... like, I don't think she can stand very easily, if at all. Correctly. And the captain, you know, wakes up, and he has, like, his arm in a sling, and his head's wrapped up. He's even more screwed up, apparently.
Well, you have to think, he got fucking front face blasted by Terraphaser.
There you go.
So it's like, I can't say it's not... doesn't make sense that he's kind of fucked up.
Essentially, there's, like, this really... I don't want to actually spoil too much about this, because I want to encourage you guys to, like, go and watch this.
Okay, to be fair...
a lot of the good things that come from this episode are the acting and the delivery of everything. Like, there's, like, this really long...
they would have had time.
Very emotional... well, yeah, but still, I want to encourage people to still do it.
Yeah, definitely. Like, before you watch the ending of this, before you finish this podcast, go at least check it out if you have been watching up to this point. Because we're going to go into spoilers now.
Yeah.
It's like, it's legitimately just them revealing that Kanata is Decker.
Yeah.
Like, because they're like, oh, how are we going to get the Ultramen to cooperate? And Kanata's like, it was me.
Because Raymond has, like, a plan. Like, they don't really have a plan on how to do anything.
Well, yeah, because everything's fucked up.
So, but he actually came up with something, and it involves, like, working with the Ultramen, and that, so they had to...
yeah,
you know.
Like, reveal it. And it really did give me very similar vibes to how in Dyna he reveals to the rest of his squad that he was it. You know what I mean? Where it's like, there was just some of these moments with these, like, with the captain and everything. And it's just like why didn't you tell us? You know what I mean? And it's like, everyone had such good emotion and everything else. It's like, the scene was done really well. And I think it helps that it's like, we know all of these characters. We've gotten to, like,
You've gotten to know each of them.
Yeah, exactly. Where it's like, so it's like you can see somewhat of like portrayal and everything else, but also understanding at the same time.
Yeah, and there's even a particularly emotional scene when it's like everyone has kind of accepted the fact that there is a big chance that Keiwa could die.
No, Kanata.
Sorry.
That Kanata, well, because he's been sphered, and they're like, oh, but if you turning into Ultraman is gonna worsen your condition, we're not doing it. And he's like, but we have to.
He's like, all of us have accepted it already. And then,
Ichika breaks down.
He's like, no, I can't make that decision. How am I supposed to decide between my friend and the world? Like, I can't make that decision. And Keiwa's...
And it's like, how much... Kanata.
Kanata... I don't know why I keep talking about Tycoon. But Kanata just, like, basically encourages, like, I'm not gonna lose.
He's like, I promise this time. Mm-hmm. And it's just like... And it's
again, a lot of emotion.
Again, it's like, what we're going to say is not doing it justice.
This, again, there's a reason I'm going to, like, go watch this.
Oh, well, yeah, because, definitely.
Like, that's where a lot of this is...
Like again, there was just like, so I don't think we're gonna be talking about the episode itself this much, but it's like, because it's like there's just so much. It's just like you just need to witness it, like especially like these scenes where it's like we're gonna talk about it and everything, and it's just so good, and like everyone kind of got on board, and it was just so amazing to kind of see. I really did enjoy it.
It was a really well thought out plan,
and it's then
I also have to. I have to at the very least give a little shout out to Trigger.
Just standing there.
Who was just kind of like on the ground with like a fucking gun, just like trying.
No, that's not until later.
I know, but like I gotta give a shout out to that.
Well, yeah.
That was really funny.
Oh, I was gonna talk about how he was just standing there during that whole emotional scene of Kanata revealing himself. So it's just kind of him sitting there being like, so this is like how it feels to be an outsider in that situation. Like. And then, like, I love how it ends. Like, they had to end, like, this very serious, very deep moment with a joke.
Of course.
Where they were like, they're like, oh, yeah, there's one other thing we have to tell you. They hand him this pad. And they're like...
No, it was, like, for the plan.
Well, yeah, and I know, but they were just like, Kengo is Trigger. Yeah, exactly. It's just like, what? It felt like such a joke moment. It honestly...
Oh, yeah, about that.
Yeah. They're like, we didn't know how else to tell you and everything. And they pretty much set up their plan in motion. And before they start, they're like, oh, Raymond, you're deputy captain.
So, he looks so fucking happy.
Yeah.
He looks so fucking happy.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, they're pretty much like, okay, we got to execute our plan. And the plan was actually pretty neat. Mm-hmm. Where they're like, okay, first things first, we're going to have Trigger do his thing.
He, like, absorbs the Eternity Core's energy
out
of the creature, out of the mother.
Yeah, and, like, shoots that and turns it into light and then throws it at Kanata.
And then Kanata's actually able to, like, repair the Decker Flasher.
Well, it, like, somehow I'm not sure if that's, like, how the D-Flasher's created or if that's just, like, what revived it. We're not quite sure.
I don't think it really matters.
It doesn't. And, like...
I think it's just kind of the just roll with it kind of things.
And, yeah, no... They pretty much are like he's just kind of getting
really
yeah, it's like a solid, really good fight.
Everyone's giving it their all.
Well, yeah, and like, but then there's like a moment where they all get sphered.
Yeah, and it turns out the sphere's whole thing is essentially Evangelion. Just they want everybody to be a single.
Yeah, but say Evangelion, the Borg, like any. Like one hive mind entity. I just meant
specifically Evangelion because like their whole thing was like, oh, we all want to be one consciousness specifically to avoid
human instrumentality.
Like,
where's the Fanta?
To avoid pain and disappointment and everything. So it just kind of reminded me a lot of Evangelion because it was almost like point per point the same thing.
And like they're just like, fuck you. We're people and we want to be people, and like all five. Even Hanejiro, by the way, Hanejiro was assimilated.
I guess that means that he is like sentient now, right? He has like a full personality, and he
I
has,
love
like,
him.
Memories and like a personality. So I guess he is just kind of like a being now.
Which, by the way, I'm so happy nothing happened to him.
Yeah,
he got a dry terror phaser.
Without saying too much about Dinah, because I don't know if you'll ever actually talk about that. something does happen to that character. I won't be specific as to what, so we were very happy that our little honey jar bro is okay.
Yeah, I would say
We were worried.
Hajimaro and Hanijiro are like two. Like again, they're in the design aspect. You can see where the inspiration is, but they are two completely different things, which I think is a very good analogy for Decker. Honestly, now that I'm thinking about
You
it,
see the resemblance, but you can also see how different they are.
exactly where it's like it didn't need to be verbatim what that was.
Inspiration over imitation.
And the fight was just really solid after that, and it's like Kanata just pretty much gets healed up. He's no longer sphered after that moment, and pretty much they kill the Mother Sphere.
Yeah, they kill the Mother Sphere. All the spheres on
Earth are
and
gone.
on Mars leave. They even suspected like the other planets that are infected with the spheres are also now free, and like everyone's celebrating, and
Yubnub.
and they all kind of gather together outside.
Well,
and...
beforehand, that's when. Yeah, you don't.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I only just now registered it.
Yeah, you pretty much after that, like Kanata untransforms, and then like the D Flasher just kind of flies off him, and he's human once more.
Yeah, it's something we haven't had in
It's
Ultra.
been a little bit.
Ultra hasn't ended like that in a long time.
Like he's obviously gonna get the power back.
Yeah,
for the movie.
Make movies and stuff. Yeah. And yeah, like
I'm so glad they didn't do a Dinah ending.
Gives a cute farewell,
and like
everyone kind of gathers, and you know, and the captain fucking pulling at my heartstrings, just being like, I'm so proud, like, I'm honored that I got to fight beside you, rather than the other way around, essentially. And, like, it's not focused on, but you see Raymond nearly fucking break into tears.
Well, yeah.
Like, that's, like, the person he's been...
Well, like, that's his idol.
Yeah,
it's like, that's the reason he does what he does.
It was just such a sweet moment. And then, of course, it ends on a very beautiful note of, like, all the people that were on Mars coming home.
Yeah.
And people finally getting phone calls of their loved ones that they haven't been able to talk to.
Yeah, exactly.
And, dude, and Kanata is just so fucking stoked. He just starts
You even see his grandpa.
Parents.
Yeah, you see his grandpa be on the phone with them, and he's just being like, oh, and she's with you. Wow!
And, like, you know, he's so excited. He's literally shouting to the sky, Mom, Dad, you know, welcome home. And everyone's just so happy. Like, everyone is coming home. And it ends on, like, just such a sweet note.
Yeah. And that's pretty much the episode.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, as a show, I want to say it's really solid. Like, is it something mind-boggling and I think is going to change the realm of everything? No.
This is a really good, decent show. I don't have really many complaints at all.
Well, yeah, it's like there's not even, like, you can go back and even listen to our thoughts. Looking back and reflecting, there was really only one episode we had a problem with. And it was the episode that was concluding and kind of...
The part 2.
Like the part 2 of the Trigger crossover, which felt more Trigger than Decker. So it's like... And we don't even hate Trigger.
Yeah, like, Trigger isn't bad by any means. I've kind of said that, like, Trigger is the bar. Like, that is what I expect out of an Ultra show, at the very least. It's not bad in any way, shape, or form, but I can see where it can improve.
It's like...
And then I feel like Decker is a bit above that, where it's like, this was everything that I expect from an Ultra show, but it's all wrapped up nice and tidy. There are no loose strings. And it's not, it feels like a satisfying ending and everything. Could it have gone bigger and grander? Sure, but, like, I don't feel like it kind of wanted to be. I feel like it just wanted to be a solid story with good characters, with no loose ends and tied up in a bow at the end. And I feel like they did that. I feel like they did that really fucking well.
Yeah.
Like, this, again, like, is it, like, super spectacular? Like, again, like, we got spoiled with Ultraman Z. It's just,
I love Zet.
That's such a good fucking show. But, like, it's like, but, like, shows like this, like, you appreciate still.
Well, yeah.
Like, was this, like, super spectacular? No. But, like, I don't have any complaints about it. Again, it kind of, except for, like, the Trigger stuff getting wrapped up, but that's not really its fault.
That's not its fault.
It had good music. It had great characters. It had a good story. And they were really smart about how they did things. Like how you were saying of, like, how it's not just trying to be Dinah. Like, it took the
It gave
ideas
some of those
Dinah.
feelings and vibes. And again, if I have one complaint, and this is purely cosmetic and it doesn't even matter, I just wish we could have had a scene with Kanata with Asuka. I really would have loved to see that because of how their characters are, especially where like Asuka is as a character now. And
I feel like
it's like
that's what they were planning on doing.
I think something
fair.
fell
I
through.
think something fell through. Whether it be like a scheduling error or just like, you know, oh, there was like an accident with like, oh, this like didn't end up happening or whatever
for whatever reason he couldn't go to the recording.
Yeah, because it's like we've seen him in costume, we've seen him there, he's cameoed a bunch, he's helped promote this show, and like in like I think you said a stage show they were
in a stage show, but he wasn't in costume either. But it's like he was like in a Hawaiian shirt.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean by quote unquote in costume.
I fucking love Takeshi Suno so much.
So it's like I feel like they also wanted to, and that's what they were advertised and planning on happening, but just something didn't happen. Of course, they're probably gonna get a movie. They always do. So it's like I imagine that's probably when that'll be brought back. And then
because we did see Dinah himself.
And then maybe that's where he'll like get like another deep flasher or something, and the story continues. You know.
Well, apparently in the movie, there's gonna be like a female like Decker. Like a Decker-looking Ultra, I should say. I don't know if it is Decker. I think she has her own name. Well, no, she literally looks almost identical to Decker, but I think she's purple.
Do you think that maybe it's like another like descendant thing?
I'm not quite sure. That's for the movie. That's for the movie-thon to figure out. Overall, like, but like I said, like I was saying with Hanejiro, where it's like, there were definitely moments I could feel, and I was just like, you know what, this does give me Dinah vibes and everything. It's like, but it never felt forced or like it was trying to capture it. It was just moments, and they caught it really well. Like, it didn't feel shoehorned in. It never had to stop being itself. It never had to conform to Dinah to be itself, even though I would say Dinah was a less, like comparing it to like Tiga to Trigger, where it's like Dinah was a lot more of an episodic show, where it's like it did have its plot, and like I would say the Spear weren't in, unless I'm remembering terribly wrong. Like, it's been a couple years since I've watched Dinah all the way through, I should say. Like, the Sphere have their moments and they do attack, but like they were not, I would say, the main antagonist. They were like a constant force, a reoccurring force. But like it's like, well, yeah, it's like the world didn't get covered. They weren't. It's like they were actively attacking, but like it was very far between. Like,
and like I really feel like Decker took notes. You know, when we like with like a lot of the criticisms we had with Trigger, because I feel like it had a lot of the pitfalls that we were having. And a thing that I also appreciate with Decker is that it really did flip some of our expectations. Maybe that's because, again, it took notes with Trigger. Or, I don't really know how to describe it. It's like, oh, you would expect them to, like, go through with, like, a specific trope, and then it flips its on its head, and it goes somewhere else with it. Like, again, everything with, like, Hanejiro, of just, like...
Oh, you're expecting him to die after he gained sentience.
I'm expecting you to, like, try and crush my soul and kill this beautiful character. And then maybe bring him back at the end, or he's rebooted, or...
Yeah, like, have it so, like...
No, like, he's just around, and
he's okay.
It's never... Or you're like, oh, are they going to do a plot where it's like, is he a human? Is he really a part of the team? Can he be a friend, even though he's a robot? And they're just like, no, they're just like, I love this, and he's our friend now. Like,
this is my friend.
No questions asked. Or even just, like, the commander being a hard-ass, and instead he's just, like, this really chilled dad-like dude, you know?
Again, I still think it's like... Where it's like they almost felt like a family at some moments.
Yeah. I love the dynamic between
them. Like this Gut Select team, I feel like, again, comparing it to Trigger's, I didn't mind, and I enjoyed the Gut Select team from Trigger, but I genuinely, like...
You don't remember a whole lot of them.
Well, yeah, it's like I can't... Like, a lot of them really didn't get focus or really kind of one note. But with this one, it's like, I can tell you everything about it. And it's like, yeah, I know it's down, like, 2 members. I still don't think that's a fair excuse.
I feel like it's like, again, it took a criticism I think a lot of people have of just, like, have less characters and then develop them more so we get attached to them. And I feel like that's exactly what they did. So couldn't possibly complain about
Well,
it.
yeah, exactly. It's like everyone.
We knew each of those characters. We knew.
Well, it's like we got to
Their
see several
personalities,
monster.
their parts, you know?
We got to see several episodes of the vice captain dealing with some of her own demons and a couple other things. And then Raymond's whole thing doubled not only just for him but for the captain.
Such a good story.
Well,
that was one of my favorite side stories.
I like that a lot, and it's just, and then Kanata was just kind of the main story and everything, and that was kind of interesting.
Really enjoyable.
And even Agams, even though he was kind of like that redeemed villain.
Force
Oh yeah, he force ghosts with his wife on Earth. And then then Kengo walks up to Kanata. It's like we were just like, could you imagine if Kengo walked up being like, dude, did you just see those fucking ghosts?
I even joked, just like, I really want to see someone edit both the Star Wars movie and put them there instead of the Force Ghosts, and also edit this and put the Force Ghosts there instead of them.
It actually specifically just replaced Agams with Hayden Christensen.
It was just real, and they had this very sweet moment of just being together, looking at each other, and just
kind of giving that accepting nod that they're moving on.
Just we're finally back together kind of thing. It really it was bittersweet, but it was really sweet.
It did confirm he's dead though.
Yeah, he did his shit.
He did his shit. And
dead, yeah. I don't know.
And overall, again, I like that show a lot. I think it did a lot right. I don't think it
really did wrong.
Where it's anything I complain about honestly for Decker is because of Trigger, and it's I can't really dock points for that, where it's
I don't know, if you guys have any big criticisms of Decker, what are they? I'm legitimately curious, because I feel there has to be something that we're probably missing or forgetting.
And or it's I just gloss over them because for me it's not a problem.
It's just
what are your guys' criticisms? What are your favorite parts? What are your least favorite parts? Put them in the comments.
I honestly have to say one of my favorite parts is probably everything with Raymond.
Yeah.
Him, the commander.
Really?
It's so sweet. And
that was not what I was expecting.
Some of my favorite parts were looking at Raymond's actor, because that guy has some fucking talent. As you probably noticed, I kept mentioning.
You always mention certain.
Just because he would just have such subtle acting that you would probably not notice a lot. Again, when I tell you when the commander was talking about how he's honored to have
work with them.
Worked with them, and he nearly chokes up and cries about it. That's not in the forefront. That's in the background.
they're not making it obvious.
Because I was looking at Raymond, because I was expecting something out of him. So but he wasn't the focus, and it's
exactly.
I had to acknowledge it. I loved a lot of
I was about to say, do you have any criticisms?
No, I don't know. I really liked a lot of the save the monster plots, with the big battery, or
exactly.
I always loved those plots anyway.
Well, there's those plots, and and
the wrestling guy with his daughter.
Oh, the Grigor episode with Grace,
right?
Grace, yes, that was his name. And I love that episode where it's and it's I like that they use the sphere to their advantage, where it's I kind of did expect that they wouldn't wait until the end to break the barrier. I was kind of surprised by that, but it honestly worked, because it's they kept it as a looming threat, and this is not a long show. It's 25 episodes deep with 3 recap episodes, but we're not going to mention them.
I feel even the show.
That's the I'm about to say. I'm now if there's any legitimate complaints, it's why do we need that many recap episodes? But that's a Subaraya thing.
Yeah, that's not really their fault. So.
Well, I think they're deciding to do it, but I don't know. It's been a constant each year, so it's I don't know how much more mad I can get out of it outside of just being skip them or skim them. Either way.
Again, I will give them this. At the very least, they did give us a reason to watch them.
Some of them were fun.
It wasn't a recap and nothing else. We had the interaction of Mamoru and his friend,
old man sidekick,
and their dynamic was just pure fucking gold.
So yeah. So would you
him screaming and throwing the thing and just being I'm gonna end up on a list and I'm gonna die.
Every Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no.
Lots of good stuff.
It's for good.
Okay. I don't know. Again, the only criticism I could really have is they could have gone bigger and grander, but I know that if they would have tried, it would have had to probably sacrifice something, because they already had so little time with the recap episodes So I don't know if I could really blame them with that.
I don't know. Yeah, like then it's like sometimes you need shows like this.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Where it's like I don't know, like especially with the shows that it's sitting next to, like right now, like that what we've been talking about this whole year. Like it's been around for the starting of Dawn. Like Dawn Brothers was very well into swing by the time Decker came out,
Yeah.
and then you go into and Revice was like rearing its end during that, which we've talked about that in nauseum. And obviously Geats has been nailing it so far like
Yeah.
I'm really engaged and really enjoying that, but it's like it still held its own, and it was still just like I never felt like the oh yeah we have to watch Decker. It was always just like yeah
It wasn't like, oh, yeah, I have to watch Decker or anything. Like,
yeah
it was always just like, yeah. It wasn't like as intense as the other ones, and it was almost kind of nice because like it was almost like a palate cleanser.
it was a good vibe.
It was a good lead into everything. Also, one thing I remembered that you mentioned, I imagine you would want to mention as well. You said that you felt like there were no wasted episodes.
Well, yeah, like I said, it's like it had two big focuses: making sure you knew the sphere plot and building their characters. And like that's they used every episode to that advantage. Like the Grace episode, it built both like Kanata
I think
and the captain. And like the episode, like the mermaid episode, built Ichika's character and showing how she genuinely just cares about people. And then you also had the Ella King episode, which also dealt with that. But it's
those are probably
the Ella King episode was great.
I have to say, the Grace episode and the Ella King episodes are probably my two favorites.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Eh.
What are some of yours?
Oh my god. The Hanejiro launch day one, that one was pretty good.
Oh yeah, that was.
Where it's like he was so afraid. He's like, I don't like this. Stop throwing me around.
Stop throwing me.
Like,
I still feel like those two are probably my favorites. Those were just so good. Those hit like my personal like all the notes that I love in an Ultraman episode. It got all the things. So
yeah. I'm about to say I gotta have honorable mention. Like it's not my favorite, but I still gotta give honorable mention with the Dyna team up. Like that fight was amazing. I like that fight.
That was a good fucking fight. Fucking shout out to that fight that led them into hell.
Oh my god, the one with Terraphaser?
Yeah, the Terraphaser fight was really fucking good.
Alright. So
Shit.
favorite character? Do you have a favorite character?
Also, shout out to Jin.
Oh yeah, Decker!
Decker, yeah. We call him Jin just because that's how we know him.
That's how I think of him.
That's the name we think of. But oh gosh, that's a good question.
I have to go the captain. The
Really?
captain's my favorite. I loved his character. Again, it's like I like how it's like they made him like this principal and everything, and you almost felt, but it's like he had such a good heart, and like finding out like he cooked dinner for everyone and everything, where it's just like he's just such a nice guy, and it's Ichigo.
When I think of Decker, that's actually one of the things that I think of. Like when you mention the show, one of the first things that flash in my head is like him with like the dinner and everything of just like such a genuine good dude.
Come on, he's also Takeshi Hongo. So how about you gotta love that guy.
I would probably say him is probably one of them, but I also had to say Hanejiro is also just like, absolute
he's up
joy.
there. I love
I
Honey.
got legitimately excited anytime he was just on screen. Even if he wasn't saying anything, I was just like, fuck yeah, he's here, the boy is here. And he was so sassy, he was cool, and he was
he felt like a friend.
Cute. He was so fun.
I like
so
how
funny.
he was never against taking pot shots at Kanata.
It's so fucking good, and he's like a cute little badass too. He fucking
he'll kill you, motherfucker.
He will fuck you up.
And he'll do whatever he needs to do to make it get what he needs. Like also, when he launched Kanata out of the thing, that was amazing.
Yeah, I feel like those two are probably my top ones. They're just so good.
Yeah.
I almost want to say Raymond, but I feel like I like the actors' work doing Raymond in like very specific areas rather than like him as a character as a whole.
I guess, yeah.
I almost like the dynamic of the three as a single character.
Yeah, I can say that, where it's like
they play off each other.
Like
really
that's
well.
the thing I want to say about this whole cast. They all work off each other well, and I feel like none of those characters, none of this, I feel like would really work. It's like the captain would still be like, oh yeah, he's a good captain, but none of this I feel like would really work without all of the characters meshing really well. Like, from the actors to the writing, it works. And, like, yeah, no, and I can agree with you, where it's, like, when you want to think of it in that way, because it's, like, that's how we often saw them, was, like, that triad, like, having to work together. And
you can tell that
they
all genuinely care about each other.
Well, yeah, it's like you started off the show where it's like they were kind of put off and everything, and then, they tried their hardest, and like it's like they became friends even when Raymond was hesitant to say it. Like it's some.
And they did the little thumbs up thing.
Yeah, exactly. Where it's like it was a good moment, and like
good stuff, man.
And
good
yeah,
stuff.
all right. Favorite Decker suit.
Ooh, good question.
We only have 4, so.
Yeah, that's actually Honestly, like his like true Decker form. I guess, like,
dynamic type.
Is it dynamic? I really like that one, and I also just really like his base form. I really like
Flash type's good.
The galaxy and like the purple on the forehead, but I'd say dynamic is probably my favorite, and then that one would be like a really close second.
Yeah, I would say dynamic type is really good. And again, I feel like dynamic type and flash type are meant to do the looks for those. Like, they're meant to look like, and honestly, so to keep myself away from that, I'm going to probably throw it to strong type. I love the red.
You always really like the strong types. Also, I like the horns.
Yeah. Oh, like the Kuga-esque horns on dynamic type. Yeah, I like that.
But yeah, you always really like the strong forms. You like the beefy boys.
Yeah, and he wasn't that beefy, and he had like a sick gauntlet. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Very.
And again, I really love the designs in these suits. We already kind of talked about them like really early on, so I won't.
Well, yeah, I'm about to say, if you want to see our first impressions and how we feel about suits, just go back to when they debuted. We talked about them.
It's really funny, like in this last episode, like especially like when you look at like Terra Phaser and like the stuff that's been around for a while, or like the weapons that are foam. You could tell that those fucking things have been through hell because they're all like bent and squished and stuff, and I'm just like, ooh.
Yeah.
You've been through the ringer, haven't you?
Yeah, they're like, oh, we see where you've been.
But yeah,
But yeah, that's
again a lot of like the asymmetry, the like different textures, the different like
the ways they've moved the galaxy on him.
The different like layering. I don't remember like how I was mentioning like some of like it's thicker than others, like it's like
big boobs.
Big boobies.
But yeah, no.
Lots of good stuff.
Like, I enjoyed Decker.
I gotta also say, like, the little sets.
Like
cities that they destroy and everything.
The miniature work that Tsuburaya has is very rarely matched by anyone.
It's
like, say what you
spectacular.
like. Don't get me wrong, I love me some Sentai mech fights, but their miniature work not that good. Like, Donbrothers gets a pass right now because they're technically really not gonna have to work with that shit. Mm-hmm. But like.
You remember the glow stick bridge?
Yes. Oh my god, the glow stick bridge. But like, yeah, no, the miniature works. Like, when you saw them fall, you would see stuff start flying up, whether it be like cars or like so
inside the buildings. Like, it would have like a TV going on the inside.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things that happened.
The camera work in the show was amazing.
The camera was so good, and like, because I feel like they were being, they were being very dynamic with. Their camera shots. And,
dynamic type!
But it wasn't, I feel like almost in Trigger, it almost like dizzied me. Like, it was almost like too much at times, but I never felt that.
I will say Trigger and Decker, in my opinion, had amazing camera work.
Yeah,
so
it was really good in Trigger.
Honestly, I can say the camera work for the last 3 Ultra shows have been really good.
I don't know, what was the one where it's like, the camera work was almost a little bit too much because it was almost like.
I remember you got dizzy watching the Ace and Zet episode where they were like zooming around.
Oh, okay. So that was a lot longer ago than I thought. I have to I think it was in this episode. I have to give a little shout out to this one very specific part that happened with the miniatures. Like, I think it was when Decker fell over, and it had like this in the foreground. It had like a vending machine. It had like 2 little trash cans next to it with like a car or something. And when he, like, landed, it all shook, and it was really cool. But,
and they flew up.
It's funny, like, the trash cans just, like, it's like they jumped out. It's just, like, happy trash cans.
Don't forget to feed the waste basket, Stormy.
They didn't fall over, and that made me laugh because they just did a little jump. They're happy trash cans.
But yeah, so that's the end of our first show.
Yeah.
Ultra's gonna go.
Yeah.
Decker will be missed.
Decker will be missed. Donbrothers will be joining it soon in 5 episodes, I believe.
Oh, God, I'm not ready. I'm not ready.
I'm almost sad to see it go. You know?
Well, yeah, and Ultraman will probably be gone for a little bit.
Yeah, they always take a little break. So
well, no, okay, there is gonna be a show taking its place, but it's like an Ultra Chronicle, which it's really just a way to do recap clips. But now they're gonna be using the new generation heroes and all of that. Like, I will skim those from time to time, but if like eventually they just almost go into legitimately just playing movies. Like, I remember, I want to say it was like the Heroes Odyssey version that they did before right before Trigger came out. I was watching that, and that's how I watched Gaia's movie. Like, that's like how I watched Gaia's movie for the first time, and like I was just like, oh, cool, that was kind of neat to watch. So it's like I kind of don't pay that much attention to it because it's just for a way for them to recycle new clips while they wait to make the new show. So, you know, what are you gonna do? So,
I guess this is it for this episode.
Yeah, but say we'll talk about Ultraman maybe at some point on the main show, but until it comes back to weekly formats, it's gonna be gone for a little bit.
And if there's any of you guys out there that watched Decker with us, I spilled my water.
Oh no, it's everywhere.
Oh God.
It's wet.
It's all wet. It's cold. But if there's any of you guys out there that legitimately listen to us, all the way through Decker, or even especially if you watched it with us, truly thank you.
Yeah, but say what are your
with us.
Yeah, it's like, what did you guys think of Decker? Like, tell us down in the comments below, and or if you're some of those people that are just like, it's not Donbrothers or Geats, I don't care. Cool, bro. Well,
yeah, thank you guys so much for listening.
Yeah, and goodbye, Decker.
Goodbye, Decker.
So and that leaves 2. So
only one show.
Well, we're gonna talk about King Oger.
I know. It just meant because
so there will
Donbrothers is also ending soon.
Oh my God!
Just be Geats.
I don't even know if they're gonna go into a hiatus and King Oger usually just I think is gonna start right after.
I know. I just meant it's just the 3 shows that we've been talking about.
Oh yeah, the tent poles.
Yes, why you gotta make it so awkward, my dude?
I don't know.
I'm trying to say goodbye.
Gotta say goodbye. I don't even remember what that's referencing. All right, so.
Bye guys. Thanks so much for listening.
Thank you for listening. Until next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.